Okay, hi, I'm Noam the Movie Slinger here. So this is our second part of the Mission Impossible review. So we have MI2, as they used to call it back then. So Nilendra is joining me again on this mission.
Hello again, guys.
If the first movie was a good example of what Mission Impossible is, MI2 I think is sort of the exact opposite of that.
The Antichrist.
Okay. So the plot synopsis is basically like this. So there's a biochemical pharmaceutical company. Ethan's friend is working there and he has developed a virus called Chimera and its cure as well. So he tries to smuggle the virus and deliver it to Ethan. But on the way, he is killed by a guy called Sean Ambrose, the main villain who wears an Ethan Hunt face mask to get close to the scientist. So Ethan finds out that the friend has died and is sent on a mission to find out what Chimera is and why his friend was killed. So of course the bad guy wants to sell the virus, and so he's gonna sell it to the buyers, and the IMF has to stop him. It seems pretty straightforward, but I don't know. I don't know what you felt, but I thought the storytelling was a bit flawed. What did you think about that?
Yeah, it's very convoluted.
It's not easy to follow.
It's not. It's very twisted.
There is a lot of twists and turns.
Yes, yeah.
And what I thought was that in the first film, where they reveal the plot through a lot of dialogue, and it's done really well, done very efficiently, and it's very easy to follow. Here, I feel like they didn't know how to tell the story, so they just got a bunch of people standing around giving exposition, right? There's a lot of dialogue, right? Yes. Like a lot of scenes where the characters are just standing around explaining what's going on. Like whether the part I think of is the villain, the part where Sean Ambrose's character is standing there and explaining every step of the way what Ethan is going to do. Now, it's cool the first bit, but then it goes on, it keeps going, right? Yeah.
My objection was when Ethan he's constantly explaining what they've discovered at each point that they've discovered it, right? But eventually he figures out what Chimera is and what Bellerophon is, and then he explains it. And then he figures out that Sean doesn't have it, and he explains that also in a separate scene.
Yeah, it's like they didn't treat the audience as a little bit smarter than that, right? It's like they were like, oh, the audience won't be able to get this, so let's have somebody explain exactly what's going to happen. And it doesn't feel natural because you have people saying stuff out. Sometimes the room is empty. We don't even know who else is in the room, and you're like, who is he talking to? There's a few scenes like that.
You're talking about the scene in the with John C. McCloy in the hospital.
Yeah, there's a hospital, like one of the guys.
That's all I've got needed.
Yeah, he there's a confession, and you're like, why is he confessing? Like, he doesn't need to say this out, right? He doesn't. Why is he saying that? It's for the benefit of the audience, and it feels very lazy. Like they didn't know how to do it. That kind of ruins the plot. I mean, the plot itself isn't that bad. It's like a standard, I guess, a standard action movie, spy movie plot. But they don't do a good job of telling the story. Yeah. So how about the team? What did you think of the team?
I mean, it's a fun team. Luther.
Yeah, Luther is back. Yeah,
Luther's good. That chemistry between Ethan and Luther is an endearing part of the series. Billy Baird, the helicopter pilot, the Australian local boy. He was quite funny.
He's likable. He's funny. I feel like they could have used him a little bit more, but he shows up to say a funny line here and there. He could have done a little bit more.
They should have featured him a bit more. Yeah.
What do you think about Tandy Newton?
So
we'll explain her character. So she's a professional thief. She has a relationship with the bad guy, so she has to pretend like she needs his help and go undercover and then get some information on Chimera. She has a romance with Ethan, which I don't buy at all. It's really awkward.
Really forced,
yeah, it feels really forced. I mean, they could have done it in a little bit differently, where maybe they could have shown some kind of attraction without actually falling in love. Like they're just making out just 5 minutes after they met.
What happens is Ethan's under the impression that she's being recruited as a thief, when actually she was a previous love interest of Sean, the villain rogue IMF agent. Ethan seduces her, and then
feels bad about sending her to the bad guy.
And then it becomes a love triangle.
Yeah. And also, it doesn't give her the opportunity to actually do something with her skills. Because they show
There is one point where she does something with her skills, and then she just muffs that up.
Yeah, she's like completely messes that up, right? Like the pickpocket scene, right? She can't even do that, and then she's kind of useless. Throughout most of the film, she's kind of useless. And let's talk about Ethan Hunt. So Tom Cruise. I mean, he's good. It's just that I don't feel like this is Ethan Hunt because he's going around like he's flirting with Tandy Newton's character very quickly. And in this scene where they meet, it feels kind of like, I don't see Ethan Hunt. I see James Bond. He's trying to be like James Bond, right? He's flirting with her, and then you had something to say about that, right?
Can't exactly put my finger on it. It just feels a departure from what I'd expect from Ethan Hunt.
Yeah, Ethan Hunt doesn't feel like a secret agent. Also, Ethan Hunt would be the kind of guy who wouldn't want to get involved with this girl because like he knows he has to use her in the film, right? So he shouldn't be getting like emotionally connected with her. So it kind of feels weird for him to do that. Yeah, that's that. And Anthony Hopkins is in the film for like 5 minutes. They wasted him. I thought they wasted him.
It was a waste.
I mean, you get somebody like Anthony Hopkins and you should have something.
There's weird facial cues and weird dialogue.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah, we'll get to that. That's more into the style of the film. Yeah. So and then the IMF team, is all right. I mean, it's okay.
The exception of the.
Tandy Newton and Ethan is not really Ethan.
I would say it's not really Tandy Newton's fault. I think it's the direction.
It's the direction and the writing. I like her, but it's just that she's forced into this relationship. So that feels really weird. So let's talk about the bad guy's side. So we have Dougray Scott as the bad guy.
Yeah. Actually, I wouldn't consider about Dougray Scott. I'd say it's an entire team of guys.
Yeah, he's the henchman behind him. Like they're all really
nice Australian accents, and I found them quite enjoyable.
They got personality. You sort of remember these guys, right? They're very distinct, and and I feel like Dougray Scott is enjoying himself. He's having fun being the bad guy. He's very intense. And kind of creepy too.
Yeah, and then there's Hugh.
There's a bit of drama between. So Hugh is the sort of lieutenant of the main villain.
Sean,
yeah.
Nice, hard to place Australian accent. Sounds regional. Initially we thought it was South African, but no, it's Australian. Played by Richard Roxburgh, very important. Moriarty from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and also what was the other film he was in?
He was Dracula from Van Helsing.
Dracula from Van Helsing. Also, he has a series called Rake, kind of like a renegade lawyer thing. Okay. It's an Australian series. They adapted it for the American market.
Okay.
But it only lasted one season for some reason with Sean.
So is he good in that? He's good.
He's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. So kind
of like a Better Call Saul's.
Okay. Cool. So I think we like the villains in this film. They're quite
as a team, collectively.
And also there's a bit of drama between them as well, because the Hugh guy kind of suspects that what Tandy Newton's character is up to.
Yeah, Hugh's got smarts, man.
He's got smarts, and then also Sean Ambrose is also very smart. He figures stuff out.
Because there's a great dialogue scene between Hugh and Sean.
I think that's one of the best scenes in the movie.
Best dialogues in the movie.
They have figured out that Tandy Newton is actually spying on. Let's talk about the stunt. Let's talk about the big infiltration scene. This scene, there is a nice setup to it where the bad guy he understands how Ethan's mind works. So he knows that Ethan Hunt is going to infiltrate this. There's this building where they're keeping the Chimera virus. So Ethan has to go in through the atrium, right? He's dropping down from the helicopter, go through the atrium, and then go all the way down, and then release the cable before the door closes. So now there's a bit of nice setup to this where the bad guy, because he understands Ethan, he knows exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah, both teams pretty much plan it out at the same time. They both have the same options figured out. So they understand each other. There's a bit of explanation on both sides, but Sean really nails it on the head. Ethan's gonna attempt some insane acrobatic stunt before harming a single guard.
Yeah. That sounds like Ethan. So that was actually kind of cool. My problem is the actual stunt itself, because it happens really fast, right? So there's barely any time for the audience to get the tension, to feel the tension, to register the danger, what's really happening. It's over in like a few seconds. So
all it was one big jump.
Yeah, it's just one big jump, and then he's done and he's inside, and then that's it. And there's barely any teamwork in the infiltration. It's basically like they drop him from the helicopter and he's inside, then it's him on his own, right?
Yeah.
And also it kind of goes very smoothly. Like there's hardly anything that goes wrong. Like
in the third one, nothing goes wrong per se, but the whole team gets involved. There's a big, plan. In the fourth one, plenty of things go wrong.
Yeah, a lot of things go wrong, and that's what makes it exciting. Like when something goes wrong. Right, and even in the first film, there's a lot of unpredictable stuff. Like there's a rat in the ventilator, right? Suddenly, like, okay, what are you gonna do now? In Ghost Protocol, the gloves start to fail.
Yeah.
So right in the middle of the Burj Khalifa stunt. So here, nothing really happens. Nothing goes wrong.
Nation, he runs out of oxygen.
Yeah, right. So there's like really nothing going wrong here. And also, I was disappointed with the gadgets. There's no gadgets here. The only thing was that laser cutter thing, which is like a generic laser cutter.
I was disappointed in the pacing. Oh my god, when he gets into the lab, that's so infuriating.
It's so slow, right?
It's so slow.
Like there's no sense of like urgency or anything, right?
Come on, man. You're in a secret lab. You could be caught at any moment.
You just move a bit faster. If you can call the face masks a gadget, they do use it. But they use it a little too much. I feel like they didn't hold back at all.
Yeah.
Like there were a few scenes in the middle of the film that, I don't know, they didn't really need to use it. So even when they do something really cool with the face mask, the audience is probably already expects it to happen, right? Like you've seen it so many times. It's not special anymore.
It's a gag that we just use to death.
In the first one, when they use the face mask, it's like, whoa, you didn't see it coming, right? We talked about all the things. We talked about the plot, the team, the stunt, the gadgets, the villain. I think the only thing we really enjoyed was the villain. When you look at it, it kind of feels like a terrible Mission Impossible movie. But, this film doesn't fit into the series. This is the odd one out.
Are we going into style now?
Yeah, let's talk about the style. So what I feel like this film it's a James Bond film directed by John Woo. That's what they... Yeah, woo! Yeah, that's right. Right? So if you look at this as a Mission Impossible movie, you're going to hate this one. But I think if you do look at this as a John Woo movie, there is some enjoyment there. Lots of Wooisms, right? So okay, let's break it down. So Ethan Hunt meets this beautiful lady and they flirt immediately and hook up.
The innuendo is just...
It's really awkward, right? Yeah. And there's like the cheesy music playing in the background, the car chase. It's like GoldenEye, that scene, right? That's like GoldenEye. That's taken from Goldfinger, actually. In Goldfinger, there is a car chase scene in the Alps. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
GoldenEye as well, right? There's a chase scene where they with on a top. I think there's a chase scene. So it feels like a James Bond movie, and he's going around like putting on his charms on all these girls, right? So it doesn't feel like Ethan, right? No. And there's also the opening scene that introduces the villain, which feels like a Bond movie opening. Actually, I do like that scene though.
It was good.
I thought that scene was really good, and they use a face mask there, and you don't really expect that.
I would argue that it isn't. I argue that it isn't like a Bond scene because it's really dark. I mean, killing an entire
Yeah. So, and that feels like, that kind of reminds me of The Dark Knight Rises with Bane. Right? That's very similar to that as well. And we know that Christopher Nolan in that movie was inspired by Bond movies. So it really feels like a Bond movie at times.
Yes,
And there's also a lack of teamwork. It's just Ethan Hunt doing his thing most of the time. He kicks a lot of ass, which is cool.
Should we talk about this?
He kills more bad guys in this than in all the other Mission Impossible films combined.
There's a huge amount of gunplay for some reason.
So there's a lot of gunplay in slow motion.
Not just any gunplay. We're talking about dual wielding pistols and
and Tom Cruise never dual wields in any of his other films.
Lots of cycle kicks and lots of...
not just a cycle kick, man. Whenever Tom Cruise kicks someone, you see it from 3 different angles, right? 3 different camera shots. The same shot, the same punch. Of course, there's doves, right? There's a dove flying in slow motion behind Ethan with flames in the background, reflected in the bad guy's eye. What
about the sunglasses? All the
Yes, a lot of sunglasses,
Sunglasses,
a lot of leather jackets.
jackets, yeah.
I think the Matrix came out I think a year before this came out.
But then I think that's more of the John Woo's the cinema style from
Hong
the
Kong
days.
movies. Well,
Yeah.
Matrix is also inspired by Hong
Inspired
Kong
by that
action
as well,
movies.
yeah.
But I think
yeah.
I think the Matrix was so big at the time that everyone was
guess,
anyway
yeah.
trying to do it.
And then all the slow motion start coming.
The
out.
slow motion slows the movie down. Like
It's-
sometimes, like it just drags on, right? It just feels like, come on, move, keep it going, keep it moving.
There
yeah?
are points where you don't really need slow motion. I mean, for running and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess for a John Woo movie, that's normal. It's like if you watch Face Off or something, you get that kind of thing, which works for that movie. It doesn't work for Mission Impossible. It works for that movie.
I want to go to that beginning scene, the Spanish flamenco dancers.
Yeah. So when Ethan meets Naya for the first time,
first time, the weird percussion music.
Yeah, the music is really weird. I mean, Hans Zimmer did the score, and I think I feel like he did a very lazy job with this one, because sometimes you hear a few themes from Gladiator, and I know he was doing Gladiator the same year as Mission Impossible, so I feel like he just he didn't have time. Maybe he didn't have time. He used the same theme. And sometimes the music is just plain weird. I don't know. The Spanish theme kicks in really awkwardly sometimes. The tone shifts sometimes really weird. Sometimes it's very lighthearted, and then the opening scene was very dark. And also, like, the opening scene, just before the plane crash, there's that scene where Ethan's friend, the scientist, sees a bunch of kids and then you get that what's that thing? What's that
Ring
song?
Around the
Ring Around the
Roses.
Roses. That's what is that?
I was trying to just justify maybe that he's suffering hallucinations from the Chimera or something like that.
No, I don't think so. Because I know it's John Woo,
It's John Woo.
right? And I feel like they didn't pay a lot of attention to continuity, like, because there's some shots where it feels like it's the time of day was noon, and then the next shot is like it's like in the evening near sunset, and they didn't match the two scenes properly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really awkward scenes, a lot of like really weird editing going on, right?
Actually, the feel from the lighting just came cheesy. It was really cheesy inside the lab with the sparks and the backlighting.
I didn't mind that, because I am a fan of John Woo. Sometimes I like Face Off. I'll be honest, I like some of the slow motion stuff with the sparks going off and all that. It's just that it doesn't fit with Mission Impossible. Let's talk about the ending, because the ending, you have this huge action scene, right? So I think that part is actually, I feel like that's very entertaining.
I guess that is the best part.
It's the best part, the most entertaining, because they're like, okay, let's just forget about the plot, forget about everything, forget Mission Impossible.
Get the bikes.
Just get the bikes moving. Get Tom Cruise on a bike, right? And he's got his bike, he's got the sunglasses, and the bad guy got his own bike, right? So you have this sort of a duel going on the bikes, lot of explosions.
Get rid of all the cars and
Luther gets to use a grenade launcher. That was really cool. And I thought the stunt work was really good.
Yeah.
And it's very convincing stunt work too. Like, it really feels like, okay, that's Tom Cruise doing the stunt. It looks really good. And I think the only problem is that the way they shoot it. The stunts are good. It's just that they shoot it from 4 different angles,
that's still
cut.
all the Woo stuff.
That's all the Woo stuff, right? If they just shot it like just straight, like without too much of style, I feel like it could have been better.
It all culminates in a big, huge Asian style face off.
Tom Cruise and Douglas Scott on the bikes, so they have a little duel with the bikes where they
Special mention, nice big wheelies.
Yeah, and then they crash, and then there's like suddenly they're on a beach somewhere. It's like, how did you get there? And then it's like a hand-to-hand fight, which reminds me of Face Off again. It's very similar, because in Face Off you have this boat chase which ends in a fist fight. So here you have a bike chase which ends in a fist fight.
Love the big drums and the gongs and
it's like a lot of Asian
lots of
flair.
wave symbology and
it's like why is the waves there?
Crash,
It's really cheesy, and it's almost like a Bollywood movie at times. Remember that scene where so Naya is coming towards Sean Ambrose, and so it's in slow motion, and then her scarf flies off, and he suddenly reaches out a hand and catches the scarf. It's like, wow, that could have been like Shah Rukh Khan or something. It's like, wow. Also, what about the music? What about Limp Bizkit's song? I mean, okay, so they got a bit of.
Why you wanna hate me?
So they got a bit of rock and roll. I mean, a bit of heavy metal in this one. I like that. I like the opening in the credits, the opening credits scene with the.
I mean, we have to face it. I mean, Mission Impossible is an American series. It kind of fit into that.
Yeah,
that
I mean, I didn't
theme,
mind
you know?
the rock and roll.
Rock and roll, yeah.
In the intro.
We leave the big stylized brass for Bond films and we just focus on the rock and roll.
This didn't feel off.
Yeah.
I thought I liked that.
Just, I mean, of course, the Limp Bizkit thing is a bit weird.
Come on, okay. I kind of like Limp Bizkit. I mean, I don't not the band, but I do like the song. And I think they also have Metallica in the soundtrack as well in the end credits.
Oh, yeah,
they have a Metallica song as well. I think they had a music video as well. Probably John Woo directed that.
Take a look around.
Huh? No. Metallica has their own music video.
I Disappear.
I Disappear, yes.
There we are. Have you seen that video? Is pretty good. I mean, it takes up all the elements from other spy films,
Okay.
like North by Northwest and stuff like that. And
There's a plane, I remember.
Yeah.
Okay. So we went through all the elements of a Mission Impossible movie. So is this a good Mission Impossible movie?
No,
it's not. I agree with you. But I still think that there is a bit of entertainment. There's a bit of fun to be had if you forget that it's a Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
And if you look at it as like John Woo doing his James Bond movie.
If you're a fan of John Woo and Asian cinema and stuff like that, it'll appeal to you.
If you like Face Off,
but I'm not a big fan of it.
Well, I haven't watched a lot of John Woo movies, but the ones I have watched I do like. But you have to know what you're getting into. You can't take it too seriously. Like this film, you cannot take this seriously. Like the first film I thought was a very good spy movie, and you can take it seriously. Even the stuff that happens, you can believe that it can happen.
But then I would argue that as taking it seriously, right? I mean, four managed to do a good balance of stuff.
With the humor and the story.
And the story and the intelligence. It's just that a lot of humor in this movie in Mission Impossible 2
very forced.
It's very forced. It's very forced.
I think like the guy who wrote number 4 had a good idea what should be the banter between the teammates, and they had a good idea how that should be.
And they had better comedic timing.
And they got Simon Pegg, right?
Yeah.
And he's got really good chemistry with the other members of the team in that film. So here it feels like a little off. Yeah. The only time I thought the humor worked was when Luther and Ethan, and sometimes the helicopter guy, sometimes they have these very subtle jokes, and they felt just right, for the moment. So yeah, I don't know what do you guys think of this. We thought, okay, it's a bad Mission Impossible movie, but there is some fun to be had if you kind of look at it from a different perspective.
The music is okay.
The music is fine. Let's wrap up this discussion. So thank you for listening. Just leave your thoughts in the comments. What do you think? Do you like this movie or not?
Oh, you just say woo.